Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Our guest today is Andrena Woodhams. Andrena Woodhams is an international Amazon bestselling author, a mentor, and vlogger. She empowers women to improve their relationship with food and their femininity by guiding them home to the body. Welcome, Andrena Woodhams.
Thank you.
And we need to give everyone your website. What is your website?
It's www.andrenawoodhams.com.
Okay, easy.
Easy.
Okay, so Andrena Woodhams, what exactly is embodiment?
Well, embodiment is interesting. It's just a word that people have just started talking about. And it's because it's all about coming home to the body. And when I say that to people, the first thing they say is that they say, well, I am in my body. Well, not really. You know, we've been taught since we were very young to be in our heads, you know, to think about things. We're worried about things. We're so busy with our daily lives that we oftentimes forget that we're connected to a body, and that this body is actually connected to the earth. So this process of coming home to the body, or embodiment, is actually, it's a physical process. That's the interesting thing about that. It's not a mental construct. And that physically you start coming home and your awareness deepens into the body and everything changes. It's what everyone has always wanted to do. It's the end of all spiritual practices or meditation, is actually being comfortable and aware and inside your body.
Great explanation. Now, I would say in my work, I'm going to give a couple of insights from my work. In my work, I can check someone's mind, body, spirit connection. And it's quite interesting because a lot of people, what I have found over the years is that many people who are even exercise instructors, they don't have that mind-body connection. And it's almost like they're trying to get it. It's like, I'm trying to connect. And also many spiritual people, their energy is so pulled up. And I, as a matter of fact, I just did a medical intuitive reading this week. And I said, you're so much in your head, you don't need to go up, only go down and ground your energy to the earth. And the benefits of being in your body and connecting are myriad, right? It's like, for example, yesterday I felt a little bit of cold coming on. Well, I have a really good mind-body connection. So it's like, I just really need to take a little bit more rest right now, right? And I have a very good friend, now deceased. He was a boot camp instructor. Well, he died of a stroke in his mid-30s. Oh. And, you know, a good healer friend of mine, we talk all the time about George Heider because he didn't have that mind-body connection. Right.
And it's really interesting because it's the end of what everyone wants to do. And no matter what happens, that when you become deeper into your body, and I keep on saying this is a physical process, that you can actually feel yourself coming into your body. And then what happens is that you become present, you become relaxed. You become non-judgmental. All of these things that we're all wanting to do, people are trying to force themselves to do it. But then, and I even have something to do with, I have a little bit of a challenge with the expression mindfulness, because I said, well, I don't know about you, but I said, mindfulness is exhausting because you have to be in your mind to say, okay, I'm being very mindful right now. Not that it doesn't work. It's very, very good, but it's tiring. Whereas if you are coming and you're more physically deeper in your body, then you're automatically mindful. So life becomes easier. And I think that easier is kind of a good thing to do. I think we all need that.
Yeah. And I'll say one thing, whenever I'm working with clients with various kinds of eating disorders, I think part of what's happening is they're disconnected from their body. For example, I was just eating breakfast and I got to the point where I was like, I'm actually full. I hadn't finished everything, and that's okay, right? So when you have a really good mind-body connection, you can get to the point where you can listen to those signals from your body. It's like, I don't need any more food. Okay. And at the same time, listening, for example, I think many people walk around in a chronic state of dehydration because they're disconnected from their kidneys. They don't know how thirsty they are, right? And that affects everything, their energy, their brain chemistry, their detoxification abilities. And another place where this embodiment really shows up is in the challenge of addictions, because I feel that so many people are so uncomfortable being in their body, being with themselves, being with their feelings, that they're constantly trying to numb themselves out, whether it's food, alcohol, legal and illegal drugs.
It's very true. Or another thing is distraction. I think most people, they live in distraction. Oh dear. Sorry about that. That was my phone. Let me turn this off.
Yeah,
I thought I turned
good.
it off. I'm going to be mindful about this. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, even with myself, I notice just how much I'm being distracted. And, you know, people talk about the Zen practice and they say, oh yes, being Zen, but really that's being mindful. When you're doing the dishes, you're doing the dishes. You know, when you're eating food, you're eating food, you're not watching television. When you're going for a walk, you're actually going for a walk. And, you know, there are practices that you can do. I can share with you one of the practices which I do, which I learned from the shaman I worked with for so long. But I said, you know, even if you're going and walking the dog every day and you're feeling the earth underneath your feet with every footstep, and you're listening to the bird song and you're suddenly paying attention to the amazing coat on your dog or whatever, it's like everything goes vroom, and you become present in yourself. The body becomes warm, it starts tingling, and life becomes magical. You know, and you start realizing all of the magic in life. And people say, oh, that's being Pollyanna. I'm saying, well, actually, no, it's not. It's the more present you are in your life, the more in your body you are, the more in connection with you are. It doesn't mean that if you don't have problems, of course, we have bills to pay and we have things that are going to be coming up, but you're in your mind 2 weeks away as opposed to actually walking your dog where the sun is shining and it's wonderful. And right now, in this moment, when you're in your body, and if I'm talking to people, I say, how are you now? Well, I'm fine now, but, and I said, no, not the but. You're fine now. And don't worry, the more present you are, the more in your body, then you'll be instantly reactive to what needs to be done in the future. It reminds me of being a cat, and the cat's lying in the sun and the cat's all relaxed and whatnot. But if danger comes, the cat's up and alert and will react. But we've been taught to live like dogs oftentimes that are constantly, our adrenaloids are all tight and our bodies are all tight because we're looking for the next fearful thing that's going to be happening. And that's exhausting. It's exhausting on the body. It's exhausting on the mind. It's tiring on everyone. So you can't really relax. So this is a very simple process that changes everything in your life.
Great information. The other way that I can talk about how relevant this is, as a professional medical intuitive healer, people frequently come to me to develop their own intuition. Well, to me, you have to be in tune with yourself first, foremost, and above all, before you can be intuitive about anything else. So when you are, and what's quite interesting is when you want to develop your intuition, the more you use your intuition for yourself, the faster that capacity grows about everyone and everything else. But it has to start with you. and being in tune with your body and with your soul and your mind and everything about you.
Well, I find one of the interesting things is when I'm talking to people or when I'm mentoring them, I love watching their face when I say, but you're not your body. You wear your body. And it's sort of, they kind of do this thing. And I say, yes, you're wearing your body like like clothes. And so therefore it's not, and I also find something else that's very interesting is that when we talk about the body, we talk about it like a tool, but there's not a lot of compassion or love in that word tool. I said, the body, when you really start what it does, the only thing the body wants to do for you every single day of your life is to have you live to the best potential that you are. That's what the bodies do. And that's what every single organ in the body does as well, is that it's all there for you. The body is your best friend. It's your ally. It's going to be the only thing that's going to be with you all your life until you die. Spouses will come and go, money might come and go, children will come and go, love might come and go, but your body is there. And when you really start coming in touch with this amazing, amazing, amazing gift that you've been given, you start treating it with love. And the moment you start treating it with love, and you don't have to say, oh, I need to love my body, it automatically comes out. Then you automatically start loving others, start being understanding of others, being more compassionate of others, and especially start understanding and being more compassionate of your body when it's not doing what you want it to do, or when it's not looking the way you want it to do. It's ironic that even though I've always lived a healthy life, I've been interested in spirituality for 30 years, I've been doing yoga for 25 years, I got a very deep melanoma that was on my cheek. And that was 6 years ago. At the same time, I lost my parents, I lost all my money, and I lost my home. So I had lots of things that happened to me at once. And a teacher of mine called it a cosmic kick. And it's a very good expression. And it was really interesting because I was aware enough that I said, now this is interesting. This is on my face. What am I not facing? I said, I can't hide it. It's not it's not underneath my leg somewhere where I can pretend to be a teacher or something. I'm going to be looking at myself and be looking at, yes, I was very lucky that, I've had some operations, but I still can't feel this part of my face. So every time I look in the mirror, I am going to be reminded of this. And it also helped me that even though I didn't think that I was vain and whatever, boy, when you suddenly start looking like Bride of Frankenstein, you start realizing, I had the awareness of what happens if I'm not my body and my body starting to fall apart. I was very lucky. My immune system was strong. I'm healthy now. And I look upon the illness, I can't say as a best friend, but I do have to say that I look upon what I learned from that illness as such a gift, as an enormous gift. Yes, it would have been nice if I'd learned it without the illness, but that's what happened in my life. And you also start accepting all of those things as gifts. I remember one of the things that it taught me was that even when I would get down, because I'm human and everyone feels these things, I would say, this is happening for me. This is happening to me. And it would bring me into that perspective of saying, no, everything that's happening is a gift. And the more I can embrace this, the more I can give this back to the world and give this to myself. And I think that was really the moment when I really started to, I started treating my body differently. Even though I treated it well, I think it was more in words as opposed to in actions.
Now, Andrena Woodhams, what do you mean when you say coming home to the body, and how can this help a person heal?
Well, it's ironic that I was born in Kansas, right? Dorothy, Wizard of Oz. And I left Kansas when I was young. I was raised in Brazil. I've been living in Europe for longer than I can remember. And I was always looking for home. And, it was a wonderful moment when I suddenly, they say that God has a great sense of humor. When I suddenly saw the humor of it all, that I said, here I've been looking for home and I've had it all the time. Home is in my body. And it's a sensation when you come in and you're physically in your body. It's a feeling of coming home. And it's an incredibly warm feeling. You feel like you belong. And it's also not just, some people, when they talk about embodiment, it's more, to me, body awareness. Now, body awareness and embodiment are two different things. Coming home to the body is that there's a place, it's just about where the Tan Tien is, just beneath the solar plexus, that I believe in martial arts, they call it the place where all movement begins. And this physical place in the body is where home is. And so therefore, when I'm still and when I'm allowing myself to drop deeper within myself, being still, it takes me a long time. It takes me at least 25 minutes. I'm probably the world's worst meditator. But I start feeling, it's like a trapdoor opening, and it's like sand dropping into a glass. And suddenly, whoomph, I can feel myself around my hips getting heavier. And paradoxically, I feel lighter. The body feels heavier, but I feel lighter. And that's when I know that I'm home.
Great information. Now,
Yeah.
on that note, let's take a break and listen to a message from one of our commercial sponsors here at UK Health Radio, and we'll be right back with Andrena Woodhams. Andrena Woodhams, in your experience, what is in the way of a person living more deeply in their body?
Well, normally it's all those things that you'd rather not feel. It's parts of yourself that you hoped weren't true. I had a teacher of mine once said, well, it's kind of like, taking it like it's your shadow, a lot of times, taking a list of all those things that you hoped weren't true, and you tick it one by one, saying, yes, they are. It's uncomfortable feelings, fear, sadness, resentment, disappointment, things that you might even understand, but you haven't felt. And, I consider all of these emotions toxins because they're sitting in the body. And the only way to release them is by feeling them. And that's when knowing that you're not your body, that you're not your mind, that you're not your thoughts really helps, because then you can just feel them. And when I feel them, I kind of think, oh my God, the world is ending. Oh, it's horrible, absolutely horrible. Oh, nothing is worth it. I might as well die tomorrow or whatever. But every time I feel that, I always know there's a part of me that says, just keep feeling, just keep feeling. And then suddenly, it lightens up, and then I can go a little bit deeper into my body. It was just an emotion that needed to clear through.
So as a medical intuitive healer, I can think of 3 significant ways or reasons that people disconnect from their body. So, and I'm going to outline them and talk to them about them in greater detail. One is body image, because as not just men, not just women, but also men, we know that the photographs that we see of people in the magazines, we know they're all digitally altered, right? And it's one of the reasons why I, at age 63, I'm all real. I'm here to show people what you can achieve naturally, right? But so body image, people don't like the way they look. And there's a system of body typing that I love. It was developed by Dr. Carolyn Mine, and there's 25 different body types. And part of what I love about it is that in Dr. Mine's book, she has photographs of what real people's bodies look like. Nobody's been photoshopped, all right? So body image causes many of us to disconnect from our bodies because we don't like the way that we look. The second is pain. So when someone is in tremendous pain, a survival strategy is to disconnect from it. So one of my clients, her mother fell recently, her mother's in her 80s, and broke her femur, her sacrum, and her tailbone. She's under so much pain. So we disconnect in pain. And then the third way that we disconnect from our body is actually trauma. So if someone's being raped or abused, it's typical for, and again, a survival strategy where people literally energetically disconnect while the traumatic events are happening. So Andrena Woodhams, let's kind of take them one by one. How does women's body image interfere with having a healthy connection with their body?
Oh, it's enormous. It's absolutely enormous. And it's one of the reasons I've got this course called A Woman in Full, and I'm focusing on women who are perimenopausal or menopausal, because we're taught that this is sort of the beginning of the end, the children have left home and what am I now? And the body's starting to fall apart. And we're taught to especially as women, to say, oh yes, we are the body, we have to look beautiful, etc., etc., and not realizing that the femininity, the real femininity, is inside ourselves. And yes, of course, we would like to be attractive, but that attractiveness is what's wearing the body, not the body itself. And the interesting thing is that we attract our equals. And so therefore, a woman who's always very, very concerned with how she looks is going to attract a man who wants a woman who is concerned with how she looks. Might not be the deepest type of man that exists. And it's actually like what happened to me, that after my operation, I thought, well, I'm done. I've never been so miserable as when I've been in a relationship. And now that my face looks funny, I'm not going to, I said, you know what? Relationship is just not going to happen this lifetime. I'm going to get on and do what I really love. I finished my book. I decided I wanted to share this information with the world. And what happened? But my partner came into my life. And my face was all a little bit lopsided. He's 5 years younger. He's very good looking. And I couldn't even understand. I thought, well, what does he see in me? Mm-hmm. And of course, what he was seeing in me was my deeper feminine self. And that's because he was looking for that. It resonated with him. So therefore, I can't emphasize enough for women that to connect with this deeper femininity within themselves, because it's a very easy process to do, because that's when we can share who we are. Women unite, they don't separate. And the world is being very polarized. When a woman is in herself, she becomes part of the solution, not part of the problem, and she can help a lot of things that are happening in the world today. So I believe very strongly with what you're saying. It's essential for the world. It makes us feel good, but also, the world does not need one more angry woman.
Now, Andrena Woodhams, when we are in physical pain, and one of my 10 books is called The Difference Between Pain and Suffering. So I need to take a moment. Pain is the physical experience, suffering is the emotional experience. But when we're in physical pain, how can we maintain a healthy connection with our body?
Well, the best thing I can share here is that the information that was given to me by this woman that I assisted, a pioneering shaman for 15 years. We spent 2 months together for 15 years. So that was a long time. I saw hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people being healed, whether it was physical, whether it was mental. It didn't really matter. They were changed after working with her. And she lives in a body that's compromised. She is in constant pain. Mm. And so the reason that, my understanding of coming home to the body came from her. And it was because she's lived in a body that's compromised. There's nothing that she can do. The body's falling apart. And so she was able to understand, to help me understand that there is this, it's that you're not just embodying, but you're coming home to a place in the body, which is where you connect to source. It's like the supercharger inside of you. And what happens is that, she said she could go underneath the pain. So she could feel the pain, but she no longer suffered. And I thought that, I haven't had that great of pain, so I can't really say from my own experience, but I can say from working with this woman whom I admire for so long. Her name is Cassandra, in the book that I've just published called The Magical Reality of Annabelle Jones, which I highly recommend because I'm so glad to share what she's taught with me in the book, is this incredible thing that she said, she used to walk across the road and she was all bent over like this. And she used to say, people see me crossing the road and I see pity on their faces. And what they're seeing is their own pain, because I'm not she said, I'm probably one of the happiest people that live, but I happen to be in a body that's like this. And that made a very profound impact on me, to see someone at such peace with themselves and yet living with pain.
Now, if someone is listening to this broadcast and they have experienced trauma in their past, whether it's rape, physical abuse, any kind of domestic violence, or maybe they grew up in a violent home. And as I mentioned, it's very common for people to energetically disconnect from their body as a survival strategy. How can trauma survivors reconnect with their body in a healthy way?
Well, that's a great question. And you're looking at one of them. I came from a violent home. I was sexually abused when I was younger. And I was abandoned at the age of 12. So I did just like what you said. And it's what anyone can do. It's actually a very healthy mechanism. I disconnected. It was less painful that way. So I could watch myself, I could whip onto the ceiling and watch myself. But what was a strategy for survival in a home where I could not physically leave, suddenly when you get older, suddenly doesn't work anymore, because you retain that disconnection. And so therefore my longing, my searching for home was because I had disconnected from my own home. I disconnected from myself. And so I very much understand the trauma. And it's an interesting process that I can talk about all of these things because I've embraced them all. I'm not denied them. I have felt them, but they've suddenly become part of me and part of who I am. And so I have become larger because of that. And I also can understand people's pain because of that. But it is a process of, once again, you're coming home. And, sometimes I'm in my head, or, I did so much journey work working with this shaman. I threw up the pain a lot, a lot. It was a very painful process to pull away a lot of the dark stickiness that was inside of me, the parts of myself that, I didn't want to be angry because I'd seen what anger had done in my own family. So I had to suddenly reconnect with my anger, and I was doing Tantra courses, and I was called Madame de la Colère for about 2 years, because when I finally did connect with my anger, I couldn't get through it. I remember saying, there's so much, I can never get through it. But yes, you do go through that. It also clears through. And now, I can feel something and it will just clear through, but I'm centered in myself, and these emotions can flow through me. So that, like you were saying with, having breakfast, that you suddenly feel, ooh, I'm not feeling very good. What is it? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? I probably ask myself that 50 times a day. Where am I? What am I feeling? What am I aware of? And when I'm sitting with myself, I ask myself, so what am I aware of? What am I aware of? Can I feel myself sitting on the chair? Can I feel my feet on the ground? And if I can't, that's okay too. But at least I'm aware of where I am. And there's another interesting point I want to mention, is that most women, they reside, when you talk about energetically, the subtle energies of the body, I have found, I don't know what you think about this, but I found a lot of women, they live up in their heart. And so therefore it's lovely. You're empathetic, you're understanding, but you can also lose yourself in others. And what happens is hearts want to remain open. That's what hearts do. But if you're living up there, then you're being constantly pulled by everything that's around you. So when your point of departure, when drops lower into your body, it allows your heart to open, but without being swayed. So I think that, with trauma victims, if they can just have the patience and also to share that the trauma is part of your body, and it's part of who you are. And by understanding and feeling all of the emotions of that, then you can share that healing, because the underside of trauma is healing. That you share that healing with others, and it becomes an enormous gift.
And with that, let's listen to another message from one of our commercial sponsors here at UK Health Radio, and we'll be right back with Andrena Woodhams. So Andrena Woodhams, you mentioned your trauma is part of our body, and I agree with that. Many sages have said your body is your biography.
Yes, it's true.
Because you hold cellular memories of literally everything that has ever happened to you. That is partly why I, as a medical intuitive healer, can go in and read it, because your body is holding all of that information. Now, Andrena Woodhams, what physical practices or exercises can help a person to embody?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to remember what you're doing in the physical practice. I think almost any physical practice will help you if you know that that's what's happening. I happen to do yoga. I've been doing yoga for, decades. It's a wonderful physical practice that slowly opens up the body that you can reconnect it. But even then, it's coming home to the body, letting the energy drop down deeper in your body. I think that also helps. I think that for a person if you are going to be exercising or with machines, don't listen to music, don't distract, don't listen to the news, be with yourself so that you aren't pummeling your body, but you're actually feeling your body. So you also know when you're tired. So I think dance is a wonderful thing. And it doesn't have to be the type of dance, but when I'm working with clients, I put on like a shamanic drum or something and tell them not to move their feet from the floor. And so therefore what's happening is I said, think of being a seaweed and let the energy move your body as opposed to you are moving your body, because it helps. One of the greatest things with embodiment, with coming home to the body, is the relationship with the planet and nature and earth. I said, this is easy. Life was not meant to be difficult. And so let gravity do its thing. Just be still. Or even if you're even doing your exercise, be still inside of yourself. And gravity will just start bringing you lower. It just happens automatically. And then you'll find when a thought brings you up again, and then you'll kind of come back down again. And you'll start just concentrating. I'll find that my belly starts getting warm. And that's when I know that I'm deeper in my body. So I've let go of chakras. I don't think of chakras. I just think of the subtle energies of the bodies now. And it just everything becomes simpler. I think that we complicate life. I don't think that life is complicated. And, the simple thing of life is, hearts want to remain open. That's what hearts do. And we want to come deeper in our bodies because you become more alive. It gives you more energy. You're more in contact with yourself. It helps you understand, like you said, your intuition and also what your place in the world is, because everyone has something to give to the world. It's their own specific interpretation, and it comes from being in their bodies, not what we think we ought to be, but actually who we are. And that's an ongoing process. And there's one more interesting thing is that, my parents passed away over a decade ago. And I was just saying to a client the other day, I said, I have an ongoing and continuously growing, loving relationship with my parents. And I said, it doesn't matter whether they're alive or dead. Is that just as the years go by, my heart gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as the love continues to grow within it. And the more love I have for myself, the more I can share it with others. And I think that's a pretty good thing that we all can do.
So part of what I think we're really talking about is the mind-body connection. And in order to enhance that, part of it is, I think that helps is for people to understand how their mind works, because most of us don't really understand that. Your mind, and if you don't remember anything that I say, and listening to Andrena Woodhams and her wisdom, but this is what I would want you to remember about our conversation today. Your mind can either think or feel. You can't think and you can't do both. So when you're wanting to become more in your body and to have this better connection with your body, a very simple way that I find is so helpful for people is to feel the energy you're made of. Simply feel the energy you're made of. And so, for example, if you're trying to meditate, and studies show that female brains never shut up. So a lot of my clients, I joke, you have smart women's disease. So, but if you simply move into a feeling how you feel, that helps to reconnect you. And another practice that's really helpful is that when you're eating, again, notice, even put a number on your hunger level, feel your tummy, feel how you're feeling, feel how the food feels as you go down. Because when you really do develop that really excellent mind-body connection, you're never going to struggle with your weight ever again, because your body will automatically know, I can look at a food and go, that is not right for me. That is not going to go. That's not what I need. It's not going to be helpful. And then when I'm eating, I'd be like, okay, I really have had enough. So it makes weight management so much easier. Now, Andrena Woodhams, why are so many women so disconnected from their femininity and their bodies? And what can they do to restore this connection?
Well, the femininity is an interesting point, because I was watching someone that was connected to the earth and the earth mothers, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought, I'm living in France right now. I studied Tantra for a decade because of my sexual abuse. I probably was one of the few people to study Tantra, not because I was all excited about, learning how to have orgasms or whatever, but because I was petrified of it and because I had issues to deal with it. And it made me realize that the strength of the feminine, and I say the feminine, you could say it's the divine feminine, but it's what a woman is. And if you even look at a woman's body compared to a man's body, I love comparing everything with how the body is that we're soft, we're curved. We invite a man into us. And so therefore we can lie, men can't. Their vulnerability is all out for everyone to see. But we're far more complex creatures. And the femininity, the softness, the caring, the nature, the lightness is part of who we are. I think that as women, we've proved that we can be equal to men. And in the business world, it has to be very tough. But I think there's a next stage, which is that we can be women again. And especially when I'm in the States, I find that I find a lot of women are starved for their femininity. They want that softness around them because their life is so hard. They're trying to manage everything in their life at the same time, and they're eating the wrong foods, and then they're trying to look good, and then they pummel themselves in a weight studio, and then they're concerned about their weight. And I kind of think, it's exhausting. I want to hug them and sort of say, life can be easier that way. And I think that when they're around me, they start relaxing into themselves, because I said, you've already done the hard work. You can just relax into yourself now and enjoy who you are. And women, as I mentioned before, women in their nature unite. That's just what we do. We don't, men are much more like a sword. They're very focused, and, bless them for doing that. They protect us in our, I think women have a stronger connection with spirituality, with the healing arts. Oftentimes we have a connection because we also give birth. We have a connection with the rhythms of the planet as well. That's in our bones. I think that we have a deeper connection with our body. So therefore, a woman, if she could dance for 5 minutes in the morning, just put on some soft music. Or if you wake up quietly, don't have the alarm blasting and it jars you out of your body, and then you go and quick, I need to have coffee, etc., etc. Then you're in your mind, you're in that masculine part of yourself that's running through the life, and you never stop. And so it's this stop, it's this pulling back and being quiet, being reflective, and being still. I can't emphasize the stillness, how important that is, because then these answers will come up. I would love to be able to say it's A, B, C, D, but for every person, it's different. But the more still they are, even if it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 30 seconds, it's better. Be patient on yourself, be quiet with yourself, and be kind to yourself. I can say to every single person listening to this program, you've done the hard work. You're far grander than you think you are. You're an amazing person just being born. You don't have to love yourself, just start accepting yourself, and then you can start accepting others. It's an inside program, what's happening. I'm bringing people inside of themselves, because that's where the real changes can be made. The bodies are going to get older and whatnot, and we can't do very much about that. But if you're connected with this source within you, that doesn't change. That just keeps growing. And that's life-changing to be able to do that. And you do it in small incremental steps. Don't be too hard on yourself. Do one thing 1 week, one thing another week. And then the last thing I have to say, because I've been doing this for 3 years, is I have 16 ounces of celery juice every morning on an empty stomach. And I do have to say that makes an enormous difference to clearing up the body, and makes the skin look better. It gives you more energy. And I also have a lot more water, like you were saying, that you're dehydrated. There's certain things that you can do. I love healthy cooking. So I eat about 80% raw by now. And I never thought that I could do that. But the more you give to your body that's healthy, mostly fruits and vegetables, a little bit of meat now and then. I'd rather have meat than these substitutes that are filled with soy and all of that. Then it makes a big difference to your health and to your energy and to how you feel within yourself and how you share yourself with others.
No, we've been talking about femininity, and one of my 10 books is called Unlimited Energy Now. And what I find in working with clients all over the world, not just in the US, but one of the primary causes of exhaustion is an imbalance of yin-yang energy. So what do I mean by that? And as Andrena was talking about, the yin energy, that female feminine energy, is quiet, it's still, it's dark, it's inward. Yang energy is, yin energy is being, yang energy is doing. Yang energy is light, active, forceful. So as women, when we spend too much of our time being young, doing, being human doings, it really burns out our adrenal glands big time. And part of what we can do, I find when I'm working with people to restore our energy, is to reconnect to our femininity. And several practices on how to do that. I was just doing this yesterday with a client, is to make a list of what you need in order to be your best. So for example, let's say you were an Olympic athlete. Well, you would know, I need a certain amount of rest. I need to have a certain amount of training. I need to have I need to eat in certain ways. And as we age and as we tune into our body, it becomes easier and easier to really understand, what is it that I need? I need a certain amount of rest. I need a certain amount of movement. I need a certain amount of quiet time. And when you kind of create a little list for yourself of, what do I need in order to fill my well? How do I need to nurture myself? then when you do show up as a wife, as a mother, as a boss, as someone who works, then you can be your best self. But when you're constantly doing and you're constantly trying to achieve without nurturing your femininity and nurturing yourself at all these deep levels, then you will have adrenal burnout. And it doesn't matter how many supplements that you take. The supplements, I joke with people, I could give you cocaine and it would make you feel better, but that's not necessarily what will actually heal you. Yeah. But by reconnecting with your femininity and reconnecting with the yin energy so that you're more balanced, then that's when your energy really restores. Now, Andrena Woodhams, you talk about food as medicine. Which healthy eating practices can a person do to heal?
Well, food as medicine is one of the 4 points I have in my course called A Woman in Full, because I think nutrition, a lot of the hot flashes and a lot of the ailments that women experience during menopause or perimenopause are actually an accumulation of bad habits. And as opposed to what has been interpreted as menopausal. I have a hot flash now when I've had a food that has too much oil. I'm that sensitive. And so therefore, what we need to do to appreciate and to nurture our bodies, because you can say, yes, I must nurture my body, but it's not just enough to write. I think that writing lists is good, but you have to actually physically give the body what it needs. And what it needs is, first of all, the world is more polluted than we realize. And so the body is constantly fighting viruses, pollution, DDT from the 1930s. There's a lot more that's going on than we realize, and that the medical industry doesn't realize that the body's fighting. People are saying, oh yes, the immune system in the body is getting confused and it's fighting against itself. I don't see it that way at all. How can the body fight against itself or get confused? The body is wise. The body knows what it's doing. But it might be that it's fighting viruses that the medical community hasn't realized exist. There's other things going on that we aren't aware of. And so therefore, I happen to subscribe to medical medium Anthony William. And, you know, it's just like the shaman I worked with. When I find, this is for myself, when I find I'm always looking for the process of healing, and whatever the deepest knowledge of understanding of becoming peaceful. I worked with the same woman for 15 years until I understood what she was doing. And I believe that the most complete knowledge of what's happening in health today when it comes to food is Anthony William. And so therefore, I've been noticing that I have celery juice for 16 ounces a day. I make it with a slow masticating juicer. It's different than a centrifugal one that makes all the noise and speeds up. Wherever I travel, I take it with me. I also leave a glass of water. I always put lemon inside the water. I even travel with lemons in my bag now with a little lemon squeezer, because lemon revitalizes water. You know, water has become dead oftentimes because it's also become very processed with all the medications we're taking. It goes into the water system, etc. So if you put a little squeeze of a lemon into it, it makes it lemon, by the way, when you drink it, of course, it's alkaline, it's not acidic. So it alkalizes, it makes your system alkaline. So I have a glass of water when I wake up. Then I follow that with 16 ounces of celery juice. I try to do that everywhere. I know the price of celery from coast to coast in America because of that. And then I also follow it with something called a heavy metal detox smoothie, which is with wild blueberries and dulse and greens. Greens, I can't say enough about having greens. So you want to have cilantro, parsley, lettuce, and you don't want to put gloop on it, all of that salad dressing, you know, a little bit of olive oil and lemon juice is what I do on my salads. So slowly I've changed my system so that now if I don't have a big salad and handfuls of green every day, my body misses it, which makes going to restaurants very difficult. So sometimes some of the problems is the more healthy you get, the more you don't necessarily fit into the world around you, because restaurants, They also, restaurants don't have the one ingredient that home cooking does, and that's love. And I can taste the difference. So, try cooking more at home, try doing less to food. Have a tomato. Don't put much lettuce, salt on it. Taste the tomato for what it is. Have simple salads, lots of greens, no gluten, no dairy, no eggs. I try to avoid that. No pork. Used to be one of my favorite meats. Eggs, I used to live on them, but I found that as I've removed them from my body, I can see the difference. The gluten makes me bloat. So I find that my like you were mentioning, my weight dropped, my skin is better. I'm 61. So if we're not an example to how one can be healthy in the body, and I was just talking to someone at lunch today, and we were saying about, I always ask how old people are because I can't tell. Someone could be 40 and they could be, I don't know. And also age isn't necessarily always getting older. You can get younger too. I think that I'm younger now than I was when I was in my 20s. Now the body might have a couple more wrinkles or something, but inside of myself, a person they start to radiate, and then they start attracting people. And it's a wonderful direction. And food for me, because I love it, is very, very important. I'm not sure whether I could talk about food for hours. So I think I'll stop right there.
You've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. Our guest today has been Andrena Woodhams of andrenawoodhams.com, international Amazon bestselling author, mentor, and vlogger. And remember, as you connect more and more deeply with your body in a healthy way and embody your spirit, natural healing occurs. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.